If there's something I worry about when it comes to games, it's how everything for the most part is playing it too safe, predictable, and oftentimes it feels like everything is suffocating as things slowly turn to ash if I'm being real. There's a lot to go over here today, from game industry veterans, CEOs thinking that nobody should be safe in their jobs, and even Destiny 2 making its way into the conversation again. Let's start with PC Gamer. Former BioWare producer says we could be saved from a world where there's no AAA games that aren't live services by looking to movies. So Mark Dara, who was a producer at BioWare on games like the Dragon Age series, spoke recently on how one of the big problems in games is that the money being made from them is not enough to sustain everything. Dara compares the way that movies are distributed and sold and believes that games in general could maybe learn a lot from how Hollywood operates their business. As Dara says here, movies have a very strong degree of gatekeeping. I could make a video game and put it on Steam and potentially sell 2 million copies even if I have $0 of marketing. Even if I have no connections in the industry, I probably won't, but I can. There's a curation that's happening in movies that isn't happening as effectively in games. He continues, movies enjoy a model where they start with a pretty expensive experience, and then as it descends down through its lifespan, the audience that's being addressed is getting larger and larger and larger. The amount of money that's being made per viewer is getting less and less and less. But over time, you are reaching a very broad audience. Basically, what he's trying to say is that movies make more money in the long run because the same movie is shown in theaters, and then it's brought to streaming, and then it can be sold via DVDs or Blu-rays, and then sold again via a box set as well. Video games, however, can't really do this, as games in general tend to lose their value as time goes on for the most part. Well, unless your name is Sekiro. But and the other thing that companies have found that somewhat works is pushing their games against what they call whales. Whales are players in a live service term who spend an absurd amount of money on any given game that's out there. They're the kind of players who keep a lot of games alive. A good example of this was a user named JT, as seen here from 80level.com. JT spent over $100,000 somehow playing Diablo Immortal. How do you even do that, man? But he ended up making his character so powerful the game actually couldn't find him a single other player at his level for PvP matches. Which, I mean, yeah, no, of course that happened. It sucks for JT, I know, but I'm sure Activision Blizzard's still happy about it, because they got a big payday out of this one single user. $100,000, dude. What are we doing? But that's what Dara's talking about, right? He believes that players and the industry at large are not lucrative enough for most games to sell in the long term. Maybe if we had like 10 million JTs, everything would be better, but no, there's no way I'm spending $100,000 on any game. I don't care how much I like it, it's not happening. But that the current way that things are going though, there is really no need for different business models according to Dara, because no one would actually accept it anyways. He had more to say though. The way we currently have subscriptions set up, they don't tend to make very much money for most games that are on those services. Some games make a bunch. A lot of games make very little, which is a problem, and Dara posits as it encourages developers to optimize for those platforms. It encourages degenerative design in order to juice the numbers and make yourself more money. So what Dara's saying here is that games these days are not being built for value. Instead, they are being built to siphon money out of every player and time as well as humanly possible as they can, right? Like that one Diablo player guy just showed you. 100 grand, that dude's crazy. But what I mean is that, yeah, he's kind of right. Even if a game is single player, it does feel more often than not that these sorts of games are also built in a sense to, waste your time. I'll give you a great example, okay? I've been recently playing through Starfield. I know, why am I doing that? But mostly because I got a free copy somehow, I will admit. And I just wanted to see what Bethesda could do with next generation hardware. Oh boy. And the answer so far with me playing Starfield is that Bethesda, they have lost their sauce, unfortunately. Okay, the game has some redeeming qualities. The combat's fun. I guess the ship combat's fine too. But a lot of it doesn't really work in any which compelling way, I gotta be real. So I beat all the faction quests in Starfield, and none of them were very memorable. The Ranger one especially, that one was, it was about like, what was it even about? Like fertilizer or something? It was stupid. It was so dumb. Anyways, outside of like the main quest or some random pointless side quest that I can find where the NPCs are always speaking too long, I gotta be honest, the majority of what's left to do in Starfield is just random planets, where I guess I can just go to them, land, scan stuff, shoot some things, fight pirates everywhere, and that's basically the game. I've now moved on to the Shattered Space DLC because there's not really much compelling to do in the base game, and that's like a whole planet made in the style of older Bethesda games, which you would think would be awesome. Yet even then, Bethesda has, I don't even know, man, they've clearly somehow lost what made their game special here too. Because Starfield's DLC expansion, in case you haven't played it, it feels lifeless, man. It's like world is more annoying than fun to explore. Everything looks purple, and it has like this Dune-esque like vibe to it all, but it doesn't really work for me. It's like the game design has devolved, as Mark Dara said, since Skyrim, which makes really no sense, right? Because Starfield is obviously years removed, so that shouldn't be happening. Yet the more that I play Starfield, and people are probably wondering, well, why are you playing it then? Well, it's more so now become a guilty pleasure of mine to play Starfield in a similar way as someone like slows down when they see an accident on the highway. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even invested in the story or the characters. The most fun part of Starfield for me now is witnessing that car crash of an experience for myself. Like, my girlfriend hates that I play this game because she's like, you look miserable every time you play it, but like, I just can't look away. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just looking at how baffling everything is in the design, just thinking to myself like, wow, where did everything go so wrong with this game? But with what Mark Dara said, right, Starfield, as an example, is business as usual for most AAA companies these days. Because like I said, a game like Starfield would not exist 10 or so years ago. It wouldn't. And I don't even mean that in a good way. Skyrim's world is infinitely more interesting than Starfield's, like multiple star systems, but like most AAA games. They just think, right, bigger is better, when that, in my opinion, that is not the case at all. But also, like Dara said, Starfield and how it exists is what the industry thinks that we want more of, and that's really the key here. Because sure, the characters are mostly forgettable. Yeah, okay, the worlds chug and the frames drop, and the game will probably crash 8 or 9 times out of 10 if you drive too fast in the open world. My game has crashed so many times, guys. But that's okay. That's totally fine, because the game is wasting your time anyways, and that's the key here. It doesn't matter if the game is good. As long as the hours you spend pile up, I have about 60 or so hours in Starfield. Do I think I've played anything worthwhile in that time? No, not really, no. But like I said, I'm playing it like I'm a coroner examining a body that's been brought to the morgue. I'm just poking at it, you know, and I'm seeing if it reacts. I'm like going out of my way to see if I can just make the game crash at this point. I managed to make Starfield crash, by the way, by just sprinting in Neon, one of the city hubs. I wasn't even doing anything. I was just sprinting. The game's like, uh-oh, you tried to play the game, and everything crashed again. Look, everything Starfield is, I guess, is kind of what game companies think that we want, and I vehemently just disagree with it. Especially if I compare Starfield to, say, Mass Effect. I mean, God, it's just day and night, dude. Somehow Mass Effect 1, which came out in 2007, by the way, is far more compelling than Starfield, and you can beat Mass Effect 1 2 times over in the time that I've spent on Starfield alone. It's not good, but like Dara says, that's modern gaming, baby. Come, kick up a chair, sit down, and waste your time playing something that doesn't do anything that would really move the needle. As Dara says here, everything can be a live service, as I hope we've proven pretty definitively over the past year and a half. And if our monetization is coming primarily from live services, we run the risk of ending up in a world where there are no AAA games that aren't live services. And I don't think that's a world that any of us want to live in. He's right, by the way, because bless his heart, but Starfield, again, it has a content shop if you didn't know this. I don't know why I'm picking on this game so much here. It's just a great example, but like here, just in case you know, okay, if you actually do play Starfield one day, there's this thing called Creation Club where you can spend real money to buy more content and play in Starfield, which personally, I find that so baffling. But anyways, because a game like this would benefit immensely by including actual mods that were made by the players into the game, which you could then just use in the game. But again, you need to pay real money for, which is just stupid to me. Like, the solution to Starfield's woes, its weak content and design, it can be fixed in theory. You just need to, spend basically another full game purchase pretty much to buy the fixes to make Starfield the game that it should have been in the first place. Which, isn't that weird? I think that's very weird. A good example of how to do this actually is Awakened Realms Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon, which is a great game that if you haven't played it yet, you should, because Tainted Grail is freaking awesome. It's like if Skyrim and Oblivion got funneled through a dark fantasy cosmic horror game. But why I bring that game up, and it's actually really great to compare it to Starfield, is because as you're seeing on screen here, Tainted Grail's developer showcased mods that the community has made that they believe are awesome. And by the way, they're free to implement too. And I never understood the idea of companies making you pay for something like mods, especially if those mods are made by players and not actual developers. Most players make mods for fun or do it because the modern AAA landscape, keeps cooking their own games with stupid decisions. So why Starfield doesn't just allow you to download mods en masse to fix the mistakes that Bethesda made for free is kind of baffling to me. It does in a way make Starfield feel kind of live service because you have to pay extra for things that are not in the base game. Like, imagine if From Software made Dark Souls again, like the first one I mean, but the only playable area was the Undead Burg in the beginning of that game. And then if you wanted to go to, let's say, Anor Londo, you'd have to pay extra to expand your world to play more. You would hear that and think that is beyond dumb, but that's kind of how it feels like to me when I play Starfield. Like, why do I have to pay extra for things that should be in the game game already, and it's even more dumb because in Starfield's case, many of the mods, if you don't know, once you install them, they disable the trophies and achievements. So why would any new player want to install some mod or something if you're going to ruin the playthroughs and disable their ability to max out the trophies? Like, it's even less captivating to do now. The whole thing makes no sense to me. Maybe I'm crazy. Like, here's a cool game that could be cool if you installed this, that, and the other. But if you want it to be cool, you got to pay extra. Yeah, we know these mods would fix the game's problems, but no, we're not going to include them. Like, what? Are we going to unironically get to the point where save slots are going to be sold to us again like Konami tried with Metal Gear Survive in the past? Because that was a real thing, and every time I think about it, it's so stupid. It's like, it's as dumb as it is then as it is now. Like, either way, right? What I think Mark Darrow brings up is a good point, because companies are in a sense trying to find new ways to nickel and dime even the single player games in ways we never really once thought possible. Before you would buy a game, it was complete. Now a lot of games want you to buy the game, then buy the additions that should have already been there, and if you don't, well, the industry's gonna fall apart, and you don't want that to happen, do you? Well, then you try to then push this on me. I kinda do want it to fall apart, actually. I gotta be real. Because why do I have to pay for that? GameSpot, for example, had this article this year about Starfield's mods, where they suggest a mod like this one, where you can get 60 FPS smooth user interface. Okay, but why doesn't the game already just have that included? Why is it my problem that your game doesn't operate at the level that it should be doing? Like, why are players the ones who need to fix everything? It doesn't make sense to me. I didn't realize I worked at Bethesda, or this mod here, for example, where another user fixes Starfield's user interface. Gee, that would be great if Bethesda just implemented this in the first place, or, made the UI better themselves, so this wouldn't need to exist in the first place either. But it's like, that keeps happening, right? As Dara said, games are trying to find new ways to monetize you in every way they can. But if this is the future of games, I gotta be real, I don't really want it. The only way I'm buying something more for a single player game is pretty simple. If they release an expansion that looks cool, yeah, I'm gonna buy it. But if you want to charge me to fix every little part of your game, like every little thing, no, that's ridiculous. Because if we normalize that, what happens next? Oh, you want 60 FPS? Yeah, sorry, best we can do is 40. Yeah, we can do 60 FPS, but why don't you pay us like $3? Then you can have 60 FPS. That sounds stupid maybe, but is that really out of the ballpark with where we're going? Sadly, not really. And if it's not the players getting cooked, it's the CEOs who are out of touch, as seen here. A gaming CEO just said we've been a little bit too romantic about the idea that we should have employees and give people long-term job security. I wish I was kidding that that's not real, but it is. This comes from Us2 Games, whose CEO, whose name is Maria Science, decided it was a good idea to flat out state job security in video games. Oh, come on, you're being crazy now. So the development studio behind games like Monument Valley had their CEO saying stuff like this. There are people doing really, really well in those spaces on PC for much smaller budgets that we will never be able to achieve because we're based in London and have employees with pensions and so on. Oh, the horror. We can't make games for cheaper because our employees want to have job security and pensions in 2026. Come on. That's just unrealistic. These people should be treated like cattle instead. I can't believe the CEO actually thought this would go well for them. But they said more. I think going forward, we'll see that we've got a core team and any growth will come through contractors, which is something I hate about the industry. I've been in the industry for 20 years, and those of us who joined in the early 2000s, we had it very good. You want to be able to give that kind of stability, but I think that's a shift in how we want to work with people going forward. Oh my God, dude. She literally just said, we had it better. We could do that for you, but nah, we're not going to do it. That's not reassuring at all, is it? Like, instead of paying to employ people to work on the game what they're owed, the industry would now rather contract that work out for cheaper, which is exactly what's going on, by the way, with the Halo remake, as that game has already been confirmed to almost be entirely remade by contractors outside of Halo Studios. And that runs another risk, which is that if companies seek out contractors, right, over full-time employees now, aren't we just losing the identity of what makes these franchises what they are in the first place? Because no one team could, in theory, work on any one given franchise going forward unless core Bungie could back in the day, right? Where every game they made felt like a Bungie game because Bungie obviously made the game themselves. If Halo is getting made by contractors overwhelmingly so now, then is that game still even Halo, or is it just Halo in name? I guess the industry doesn't care either way. As long as they can put enough lipstick on the pig, they're hoping that it'll make you kiss it either way. And taking what Us2 Games, the Monument Valley dev CEO, just said, you can expand that into AAA and see that it's not a closed problem. As PC Gamer said here, Warframe's creative director believes it's the vile businessmen to blame for Destiny's demise. As Reb Ford, the creative director of Warframe, said via a podcast, that news was just cataclysmic. There is no world where it makes sense from someone who enjoys video games that you can just do that. You can just end one of the biggest things that hit the gaming industry in the past 10 years. She continued, but it turns out that this is very much what happens when the business side of things, which I and others have emphasized with gusto how much we hate when that becomes the biggest voice in the room, and you've seen the business side of things be the biggest voice in the room for a long time. It's just never hurt this much for a lot of people in our niche genre. It's unthinkable. It really is, because what's happening with Destiny is kind of a bigger picture version of what the Monument Valley CEO said before. It's likely if Bungie were to make anything in the future now, that the people who run Bungie would rather outsource a lot of the work instead. Because why pay that Bungie developer with their big salaries when they could just get more workers for less somewhere else? But this again runs the risk of the core identity of the said franchise being reduced even further, which, yeah, that sucks. I don't celebrate Bungie's demise the same way it pains me that Starfield is the definition of whatever in a video game. All of these choices and design decisions, they don't fill me with confidence, because I think the vast majority of us just want a healthy industry. But if this is what we're doing to the games that we love, I have to ask, why does this have to be the future? Games are more expensive, okay, so the solution now is to ruin the goodwill of the people that are still willing to buy games they want now? How does that work? We need to keep making games, we just won't use the people who made them, so we'll just take the IPs, ship them somewhere else, and get it made there instead for cheaper? That's not how you cultivate culture or talent, but it doesn't seem like they care. And with Bungie, it's pretty obvious. The leadership there is tone deaf. Look at Mactix, that's a Destiny YouTuber, who recently, as you can see here, shared the Steam player counts for Destiny 2 versus Marathon. So Destiny 2, despite not having any new content, has more players online than Marathon does in its debut week of its second season. And by the way, Marathon's player numbers there are due to free trials allowing people to play for the next week or so too. And despite all of those crutches, Destiny 2 is still pulling more people. What do you even do in that situation? How can the leadership there just be so tone deaf? And yet, that's what keeps happening anyways. Studios are closing, right? Devs are being laid off, yet all companies care about is money, money, money. They really thought having bigger budgets that would solve everything. An endless expansion was somehow feasible. Reality is though catching up, isn't it? You can't exist in this space thinking that it's going to be good all the time. That's just hubris. But for the guys in the suits, they think no matter what dumb decisions they make these days, we can just throw bodies at it until it fixes itself. Yeah, I know the gold rush is kind of over. For years, games maybe felt untouchable. Everything kept growing. The booms of the 2020s are gone now. Interest rates went up and investment money is borderline impossible to find. Companies now, they want profitability instead of growth. And suddenly, the entire industry has found itself facing a question it really hasn't asked itself in years, which is, what happens if the money stops flowing? And the answer, yeah, that's kind of what we're finding out right now. Studios don't seem to be able to tolerate failure all of a sudden. Even the latest Xbox showcase that happened, if you watched it, it was mostly sequels, wasn't it? Really no surprise there. We're entering that part of the games industry life cycle where innovation is slowing down, the risks are just kind of disappearing, and publishers are being very cautious. It's not surprising to see how it all turned out, but it ain't really fun either way. I guess endless growth really wasn't that endless, and none of this would really happen if the people at the top felt confident about the future. Now that they want to chase stability, that usually comes at the cost of creativity. That's why everything is investing in familiar stuff. More sequels, remakes, brands you already know and love. Everybody's just trying to recreate past success stories. And this circles us all the way back to what Mark Dara, that BioWare producer, said in the beginning, that the companies are acting this way because they want to find new ways to monetize content that already exists. Why sell a game once when you can monetize it forever like Starfield tried? It's about building an ecosystem, they're going to say. But in reality, it's taking what should be whole already and selling it in pieces. Maybe they thought that logic was sound, well, until reality really happened, right? And not every game can be Fortnite or GTA. Yet stuff like Destiny, which had potential, got really squandered. So what you're left with is a skeptical player base, everyone asking if this or that is really worth their time. And honestly, if you ask me, now is the time to play your backlogs, guys. Get through those games you already own, okay? Stop looking at the store deals. Stop it, okay? Exit those menus. Stop it. Stop looking at the Steam sales and the PlayStation sales. Play the games you already own, for God's sakes. I should take my own advice, by the way, because I too do the same thing, but guys, come on, we gotta stop doing this. Unless something really cool comes out, then okay, play that, but instead, just play what you have already, right? Either way, the industry made this problem. They chase the wrong things, and they want us to fix it by making our experiences worse. Nah, I'm good. I know the games industry won't evaporate over overnight. People still love video games, but the era of endless growth is now over. And that means difficult decisions are coming. If you want your game to do well, you have to make the best possible game that you can. You shouldn't hope that your community will be the ones to fix it, then make people pay for the fixes like Bethesda tried to do. The easy money is gone. Now is the time where merit really matters, and the entire industry feels like it's approaching something it has spent years trying to avoid. Too bad, right? This is going to suck, but what can you do when leadership keeps screwing us over like this? Destiny 2 can't really exist. Starfield wants you to pay more to fix it, and everything is a sequel now. Doesn't mean there's not great games still coming, but either way, yeah, they kind of did this to themselves. Thanks for being here, though. Subscribe if you want to. See you guys next time, and don't give up hope, by the way, okay? Just keep enjoying what you already love. It's not your job to fix their problems, okay? Just have fun, relax, play your backlogs for God's sakes. Like, I'm not sure this is going to work itself out like in the future really fast, and if not, well, you have your backlogs for a reason, right? So play those games that you already own. Don't worry, relax, it'll be fine. Probably, maybe not, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Go play your backlog. See you next time.